Good evening and welcome to this webinar. I'm Fiona Davidson, the Communication Manager for the Dalival Group.
Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos a este seminario webinar. Soy Fiona Davidson, directora de Comunicación General del Grupo Dalival.
IFO is Dalival's research and development structure, specialized in the creation, experimentation, and development of new peat and stone food genetics.
Bien, IFO es la estructura de I+D de Dalival especializada en la creación, experimentación y desarrollo de nuevas genéticas de frutas de pepita y de hueso.
We will present today two apple varieties, Canopy and Tonik, and a new rootstock, M200.
Hoy vamos a presentar dos variedades de manzana, Canopy y Tonik, y un nuevo portainjerto, el M200, que muchos ya conoceréis.
Innovations will be distributed under an open release scheme.
Las tres innovaciones se distribuirán de manera libre y fuera de contrato.
Good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Delaparent. I am the Variety Development Manager at IFO.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Emmanuel Delaparent, soy el nuevo gerente de desarrollo de variedades en IFO.
With my team, we are in charge of commercial development of new rootstock and new varieties coming from IFO and its partners around the world.
Con mi equipo nos encargamos del lanzamiento comercial de nuevas variedades y portainjertos provenientes de IFO y nuestros socios en todo el mundo.
This webinar is one of the 6 organized by Dalival this week in order to present Tonik, Canopy, and M200 in Europe.
Este webinar, seminario web de hoy incluirá, es el primero de 6 que organiza Dalival esta semana para presentar Canopy, Tonik y M200 en toda Europa.
Our webinar today will include 3 parts. Each part will start with a video and will be followed by a question and answer session.
El seminario de hoy va a incluir 3 partes. Cada parte comenzará con un vídeo y le seguirá una sesión de respuestas y preguntas.
You can ask your questions during the video through the chat. To proceed, you click on the Q&A button on the top of your screen, and then you type your question on the right window.
Tal como se ve en la pantalla que está mostrando Fiona, puedes realizar tus preguntas durante los vídeos a través de la función del chat de preguntas y respuestas, que está simbolizada con este icono ubicado en el Microsoft Teams que veis en pantalla.
First, let's start with Canopy, our new green apple.
Vamos a empezar con Canopy, la manzana verde.
Hello everybody, my name is Florian Guida and I'm working for IFO and Dalival as a variety project manager.
Hello everybody, I'm Frédéric Bernard, manager of IFO, and we are very glad to introduce to you the new variety Canopy. I will first present you the story of Canopy. IFO company was created in 2004. Since its very beginning, one of the objectives of our apple breeding program was to create a new green variety to be an alternative to Granny Smith and having the scab-resistant gene RVI6. In addition, the target was also to create a variety that was also as green as Granny Smith and remains green after storage. And finally, that is not more sensitive to pink blush development. So Canopy was born by a cross carried out in 2004. The seedlings from those pips were inoculated by scab to discard all the ones that were not resistant to scab. We finally obtained 166 different hybrids planted for the first step and evaluated for 4 to 5 years in the orchard. In the next step, which is called the level 1, only 5 candidates were remaining and we planted 4 trees of each. Those candidates were evaluated again for 4 to 5 years. And finally, the last stage, called level 2, was planted only with 1 candidate, which is Canopy, that was still performing very well in the orchard and confirming its interest as an alternative to Granny Smith. In the end, in the end, it took almost 20 years to create Canopy, from the crossing to the decision to launch it on the market and to test it in many European countries. These European trials have confirmed the potential of Canopy across the continent. In terms of appearance, you can see on the pictures that Canopy looks very similar to Granny Smith. Sometimes, depending on the climatic conditions, Canopy can develop some lenticels with resetting. In terms of eating qualities, taste profile of Canopy is dominantly acidic. The observations carried out by the French experimental station of La Morinière show that the level of acidity of Canopy is very similar to the one of Granny Smith. In terms of Brix index, which represents the sugar level, Canopy is slightly sweeter than Granny Smith, and the bigger difference is due to the higher firmness of Canopy compared to Granny Smith. On the second picture, we show the results from testing sessions held at IFO on an unexperienced test panel of consumers. The trends are comparable to the measurements from La Morinière, with the same level of acidity, but a higher sweetness and a higher firmness for Canopy. Finally, the texture, the juiciness, and the intensity of the aroma are all higher for Canopy compared to Granny Smith. We can then conclude that Granny Smith consumers will also appreciate Canopy. I now give the floor to Florian Guida, who will present the agronomic performance of Canopy.
Thanks, Frederic, for your presentation. Now you've seen that Canopy and Granny Smith are very similar in terms of fruits. Let's see what makes Canopy special on a grower perspective. Let's start with the tree shape. Every grower knows how it's difficult to properly manage a Granny Smith tree with big branches, blindwood issues. You can see a diagram of a Granny Smith tree on the right side of this diagram. Canopy is more similar to Gala and Golden Rinder, with many balanced fruiting branches and no blindwood issues, as you can see on the left of the diagram. So this makes Canopy easier to grow and more productive because you have more fruiting branches. The second strength of Canopy is its tolerance to pests and diseases. Genetically speaking, Canopy has resistance to scab with the RVI6 gene and tolerance to rosy aphids with the gene DPFL-LG8. So you could say that it's a good start, but how it's performing in the orchard? To answer these questions, so we sent a survey to the research stations trialing Canopy in Europe. Here on this map, you can see the station which sent us their feedback. We divided them into 3 categories for each pest and disease which have been evaluated, starting with scab, when rosy aphids, European cankers, and powdery mildews. The first category represents the stations which have found Canopy more susceptible to these diseases than Granny Smith. The second category is for the stations which found the same level of susceptibility. And the third category is for the stations which found Canopy less susceptible than Granny Smith. So let's see the results, starting with scab. So 88% of the stations have found Canopy less susceptible to scab than Granny Smith. It's not that surprising given the gene of resistance we have on Canopy, but it's still a very positive result. Now, if we look on rosy aphids, European cankers, and powdery mildews, we also have very good results because at least half of the stations have found a Canopy and Granny Smith with the same susceptibility. But even more interesting is that many of them find Canopy less susceptible than Granny Smith to these diseases. So it's quite positive overall, and we can say that in most of cases, Canopy is performing similar or better than Granny Smith for the main pests and diseases we evaluated. Since Canopy is a green variety, you could imagine to use it as a pollinator. In terms of genetic compatibility, Canopy carries the same S allele gene which make Granny Smith a good pollinator. So we are talking about S23. So as Granny Smith is compatible with most of the commercial variety, it is also the case for Canopy. In terms of pollination period, so Canopy blooms at the same period as Granny Smith and within the same range of dates. So we have evaluated it on the European network I've just presented before. Since we have these good two parameters, we also wanted to evaluate the potential of pollination on site. So we did some trials at the IFO research station. A pollination trial is very easy. So you pollinate manually several flowers, and then you count how many fruits you obtain from these flowers. In our trial, we pollinated 15 flowers per repetition. And here on this diagram, you can see the number of fruits we have obtained from these flowers. Overall, the conclusion is that Canopy and Granny Smith have the same pollination potential just because we have obtained roughly the same number of fruits, even if you see minor difference, for example, on Gala, the number of fruits is very limited. So Canopy seems to be quite a good pollination option, especially if you're working with scab resistant blocks where Canopy will express its full potential. We can't finish without talking about harvest and storage potential. So in terms of harvest dates, we have observed that Canopy can be harvested 1 week later than Granny Smith if you want to have the same starch degradation. In terms of storage potential, so several years of evaluation in partnership with the CTFL La Morinière didn't show any difference between Canopy and Granny Smith, especially on scald susceptibility. So same storage potential, same susceptibility to scald between Granny Smith and Canopy. Then a very important point to be mentioned is that Canopy is maintaining the green coloration you have at harvest during its storage. Before we conclude, we want to give the floor to the La Morinière station, and Ségolène Dandin will share her experience on the potential of Canopy.
Hello everybody, I'm Ségolène Dandin. I work at CTIFL La Morinière in France, in Loire-Vallée, and I will present you my experience on Canopy. I will present you the synthesis of 3 years of observation in CTIFL La Morinière. So about harvest data, we can see on the first graph that we have trees on a conventional orchard, and we have trees on organic orchard. For the both, we have on cumulated higher production for Canopy than for Challenger. On the second graph, we can see that sizing for organic orchard, and we can see the same graph for conventional orchard. On this graph, we can see on the cumulative that we have smaller fruits for Canopy than for Challenger. We also can see that we have 20% fruits too big on Challenger. And we can see on the cumulative for Canopy that we have 20% fruits too small. We can see that the yield for Canopy is higher than for Challenger because we have more fruits. About susceptibility, we can see that like in the European results, we have the same result on La Morinière in Loire-Vallée. We can see also that we have a reset on the apples of Canopy. In the organic orchard, it's due to the application of copper on our organic program, which induce these marks. On this slide, we can see that the maturity of Canopy is later than Challenger. On the first graph, we can see the stars regression. The one color is 1 year of production and is one orchard. So in 2021 and 2022, the 2 first years of production, we harvest Challenger and Canopy at the same date. And we can see that for the same date, we have a difference of 1 point or 2 points of stars regression. In 2023, we try to harvest Challenger and Canopy at the same stars regression. So we have about 10 days of difference between the 2 varieties in conventional orchard and in organic orchard. About sugar level, we can see that we always have sugar level higher for Canopy than for Challenger in organic orchard and in conventional orchard. Even if we have more production with Canopy and than with the Challenger. About the scale, we have done trials in pre-harvest scale. In 2021, we didn't see difference between Canopy and Challenger, and in 2022, we didn't see scale on the both varieties. We will done trial in 2023 with the new harvest. So Canopy seems to be a good alternative to Challenger in our condition. With this 3 years of observation, and we will continue this observation in La Morinière.
Thanks, Ségolène, for this very positive feedback. So to conclude with, Canopy is an apple for Granny Smith consumers. It's an easy-to-grow variety with good tolerances to diseases, and it's a good alternative as a pollinator. So definitely, Canopy is the scab-resistant apple that challenges Granny Smith, no matter if it's in full block or as a pollinator, as an organic or as a conventional variety. We are sure that it will fit your orchard, and we are now at your disposal to answer any of your questions.
Vale, si tenéis alguna pregunta, podéis escribirnos en el chat y os vamos a responder. Esperamos un poquito. Vale, tenéis un chat aquí arriba que podéis preguntar cualquier cosa. Si no, yo tengo una pregunta directa a Florian. ¿Existe algún tipo de rosetting? A veces vemos algo de color de rosetting alrededor de las lenticelas. No sé si nos puedes responder, Florian.
Sí, bueno, siempre hay un poco más de rosetting alrededor de las lenticelas que lo que se ve, por ejemplo, en Challenger. La Canopy es más parecida al clones original de Granny Smith que a Challenger. No tienes esas lenticelas blancas que tienes en Challenger. Sin embargo, el roset se coloca solamente alrededor de las lenticelas en la mayor parte de las condiciones. Puedes tener un poco de roset también sobre la fruta cuando estás en condiciones muy específicas. Por ejemplo, cuando tienes un tratamiento que afecta al roset en organic, por ejemplo. Pero en la mayor parte de los casos, el roset se queda en las lenticelas. Como se puede ver en la fruta que tienen aquí en la pantalla, que sí que son muy limpios y vienen del campo que tenemos aquí en Loire-Vallée. Si hablamos de la apariencia, también podremos hablar del color, porque siempre es una pregunta si el color se queda verde en el almacenamiento. Y la respuesta es que sí, después de varios meses de almacenamiento, la fruta se queda bien verde. El tono de verde es un poco distinto de lo que se ve en Challenger. Es un poco más palo, pero más claro, pero no es amarillo por nada y se queda muy bien verde. Y ahora tenemos una pregunta. ¿Frutos expuestos al sol toman alguna coloración rojiza o son sensibles a quemados del sol? Una muy buena pregunta, especialmente en Cataluña. Bueno, como se presentó en la presentación, tenemos unos sitios experimentales alrededor de Europa. Y se ve que en las condiciones las más al sur, el IELTA y la Universidad de Bolonia, que tienen árboles hace 3 años ahora, notan menos frutas rositos o quemados que en Challenger. Pero estamos con mucho cuidado aquí y preferimos decir que es equivalente por el momento con una buena sensación que supuestamente sería mejor. Solamente la experiencia no lo dirá. No sé si hay otras preguntas.
Sí, Florian, me pregunta César, técnico de la empresa Giropoma Costa Brava, que dice que no puede escribir en el chat. Te la digo por aquí, así puedes responderme directamente. Quería preguntarte, me dice, ¿a qué valor de almidón se tiene que hacer la cosecha para no tener problemas de golpe de sol?
Bueno, eso es una pregunta que depende dónde se produce la fruta, porque siempre la cosecha de Granny Smith depende del tiempo que tiene el productor, es lo que se dice aquí en Francia por lo menos. Lo que puedo compartir aquí es que en IFO hacemos la cosecha a almidón 7 sobre una escala de 10, no sé si se dice escala, sobre 10 puntos, 7 sobre 10 puntos. Sin embargo, si haces la cosecha antes, por supuesto, tienes menos chance de tener esos problemas.
Vale, me corrige que la pregunta no la había comprendido bien. Dice de escaldat en conservación, no golpe de sol. Perdón.
Sí, es otra cosa. Para estudiar eso hicimos pruebas con la Morinier. Y hace 3 años que no ven escal, o sea, no ven más escal en Granny Smith que en Canopy, haciendo cosecha a 3 y a 5 puntos de almidón. O sea, el comportamiento de Canopy es muy parecido a lo de Challenger en el tema de escal, básicamente. Yo tomaría el mismo nivel de seguridad entre Canopy y Granny Smith.
¿Alguna pregunta más? A ver, un segundo.
Jordi, one last question before we move on.
Hay una pregunta de Juan Pablo que dice, hola, ¿frutos expuestos al sol toman alguna coloración rojiza o son sensibles a quemada del sol? Gracias.
Bueno, ya creo que contesté a esa, Jordi. Quizás no era bien claro, pero puedo decir de vuelta que la experiencia que tenemos con la Universidad de Bolonia y también gente de IELTA en 2 sitios es que se parece menos sensible que Granny Smith al golpe de sol y a coloración rojiza. Sin embargo, es muy temprano para afirmarlo finalmente.
Sí, perdón, ya lo habíamos respuesto, sí. Ahora me comentan en privado también que no pueden hablar por el chat. Me dicen una pregunta sobre el aclareo. ¿Es similar al de Granny? Y también si se ha visto sensibilidad a glomerela.
El aclareo que se hace en primavera, ¿correcto? Solo para entender bien. El aclareo es sacar flores.
Éclaircissage.
Sí, ok. Bueno, yo lo compararía a Gala o Golden, que tiene suficiente flores y se pueden sacar flores. Tiene muchos puntos de fructificación en comparación con Granny Smith. Mucho más que Granny Smith. ¿Ok? Jordi, si tienen más preguntas, siempre será un placer contestarlas por correo o también si la pueden escribir en el WhatsApp si no funciona con el chat y luego las podemos contestar por correo, ¿ok?
Perfecto, Florian. Tiramos adelante.
Okay, so you have understood that Canopy is a new green apple, and we believe it has great market potential because of its taste profile in phase with the Granny Smith consumer, and also because of its orchard performance for the benefit of the fruit grower.
Vale, vemos que Canopy es una manzana verde con gran potencial de mercado debido a que su perfil gustativo está en sintonía con los de los consumidores de Granny y que tiene un buen rendimiento en finca y en beneficio de los fruticultores.
And now, second topic, let's talk about Tonik, our new bicolor apple from IFO.
Vale, ahora vamos a hablar de Tonik, la nueva manzana bicolor de IFO.
Hi, my name is Margot. I am Project Development Manager at Dalival IFO. And I am Valérie, Head of Breeding at IFO. And we are happy to present to you Tonik, the variety with a tonic taste all year round. We observed Tonik for the first time in 2007. Its attractive color caught our eye in the orchard. Tonik is a bicolor apple with a bright pink red skin color. From the beginning, we had the feeling that the variety had exceptional storage potential because even after storage, the variety stood out. The variety is not only attractive, it also has a very enjoyable bite thanks to its tonic taste. The harvest parameters of Tonik measured for a period of 5 years by the research station La Morinière in France illustrate well this tonic taste profile. As you can see, the flesh is very firm, with 9 kg per square centimeter, a sugar level of 15 degrees Brix, and a malic acidity of 8.5 grams per liter. Tonic sanguinese at harvest slowly decreases during storage and makes Tonik a well-balanced apple. In summary, the fruit has a balanced flavor with a high level of sugar and acidity and a firm and juicy texture. This taste profile has also been confirmed in a blind test that was set up by the research station Rheinfalk in Germany. Tonik was compared to a commercial variety Envie. As you can see on the graph, the panel evaluated the flesh quality of the two varieties as very similar. Both received high scores on firmness, juice, and crunch. The observed difference between the two varieties is that Envie, the yellow line, is a sweet apple, whereas Tonik, the red line, has a good level of acidity. In other tests carried out by the same research station, Tonik was compared to Braeburn after 5 months of storage. The result is very clear. Tonik had maintained its eating qualities, while Braeburn in green received a very low score on almost all aspects. The last graph displays a test that was done at IFO by a non-expert panel. The variety was compared to Story in a Head, the blue line. A variety is known for its storability. Here, the panel perceived the firmness as similar, but Tonik scored better on juice and texture. Overall, Tonik is appreciated for its eating qualities by the different panels. Now that we've talked about the fruit itself, its look and taste, Margot will move on with the tree performance. Tonik has a good performance in the orchard with regular yields and good fruit size. 7 years of observation at the research station La Morinière in France teaches that on average the main fruit size is between 75 and 85 millimeters. These are the orange and gray segments. Main fruit production is on the terminal buds, which makes this tree easy to prune. And both spindle and fruiting well as training systems are well suited. Especially Tonik can thrive well in a fruiting well thanks to the good fruit size and its ability to grow fruits close to the trunk. And for the same reason, mechanical pruning is not a problem.
The pictures of the 9th-leaf trees are trees in fruit wall. This picture is taken 3 weeks before harvest. And next to it is a picture taken at harvest. These trees are in spindle, 4th-leaf trees at IFO. So this picture taken at IFO, and here we cut the top of the trees at 2 meters for practical reasons, which explains the height for these 4th-leaf trees. In terms of thinning, Tonik belongs to the group of varieties that is relatively easy to thin, which in practice means that we'd recommend a chemical thinning program that is close to golden, rather than to that of Gala. On tolerances to pests and diseases, we got feedback from 10 research stations in Europe that evaluated the susceptibility of Tonik in comparison to Gala on the field, and the result is very clear. Overall, Tonik is considered to be less susceptible than Gala for all pests and diseases. All stations agree that Tonik is less susceptible to scab than Gala, and also for European canker, 80% of the research stations find Tonik less susceptible. When we look at rosy aphids and powdery mildew, about 60% of the stations find it less susceptible, and the rest judge that Tonik is at the same level of Gala. On harvest and storage potential, Tonik is harvested after Fuji. Fruits can be picked at an advanced level of starch degradation, and because it ripens slowly on the tree and that the fruits don't drop, Tonik has a very large harvest window. For the same reason, it's very suitable to use mechanical leaf removal. And as well in storage, the maturation progresses slowly. Fruits can be stored for at least 8 months in regular cold storage without 1 MCP, Smart Fresh, and still maintain their eating qualities. We've already pushed it to 12 months and discovered that even in regular air, the fruits remain firm and keep some level of acidity. This is the picture on the right that show Tonik after 12 months of storage. We've let the participants of the field day last October at IFO taste some of these fruits that have been stored for 12 months, and they were very impressed by the texture. Of course, you can see that after 12 months of storage, the background of the fruits become yellow. In 2022, the research station KOB Bavendorf in Germany has carried out a storage trial with Tonik. They stored fruits in 12 different storage modalities at 1 and 3 degrees, at regular air and controlled atmosphere with different levels of CO2, and all modalities with and without Smart Fresh. And now Bavendorf will share their main findings with you.
Hi there, my name is Felix Büchele. I'm a post-harvest researcher at the Lake of Constance Research Center for Food Cultivation in Southern Germany. I would like to give a very quick summary or overview of our first results or first impressions with the storability of the apple variety Tonik. We've now conducted 1 storage experiment in the past season, have 1 currently going on. So these are some very preliminary results that needs to be confirmed, but of course there is some trends that you can already identify. For our experiment, we had fruit from a local grower. They were harvested in the middle of October, and we stored them for 6.5 months until middle of May, under different storage conditions, which was then followed by a shelf life simulation where we kept the fruit for 7 days at 20 degrees Celsius to basically simulate in what condition the fruit would then arrive at the consumers. So, a very quick summary of our results of the quality parameters that we investigated. In the 3 figures there, I show the firmness, the acidity values, and the ground peel color of the Tonik apples after storage. All of the values are shown of the treatments that were stored at 1 degree Celsius. On the left in each figure, you can see the values from cold storage, without and with MCP, and on the right I show the values of CA storage, so that was 1% oxygen and 2.5% CO2. Yeah, firmness. In terms of firmness, we could see a very high, very promising firmness conservation of the tonic apple variety. Of course, there was a little bit of a loss of firmness in just cold storage, but this is not really a common practice to keep fruit just under low temperature for this duration. But yeah, we saw a high effectiveness of 1 MCP in RA storage. So with additional 1 MCP, the values of the time of harvest, so this horizontal line that is shown in the figure, could be 100% maintained. The same thing for CA conditions, even without MCP application. So yeah, again, tonic very high firmness maintenance for the storage period, even for the time after the shelf life. Simulation still very high values. Increasing the temperature to 3 degrees Celsius did not show a negative effect on the firmness values in tonic, and there was not really a difference to be found between lower CO2 levels and higher CO2 levels. For 1 MCP, of course, in CA conditions, there was little extra benefit regarding the firmness values because the values of the time of harvest could be 100% maintained. For the acidity values, we saw yeah, a little loss of acidity there. That is, of course, to be expected due to the respiration of the fruit. We saw that 1 MCP application results in a little bit higher acidity values in cold storage, similar to CA conditions. Again, there was little difference there. So yeah, in general, and especially compared to other apple varieties, we see lower or slower acid loss or acid consumption in this tonic variety. So depending on the customers, on the consumers, this is something that perhaps should be considered. For the pH toleration, we saw that CA conditions maintain a green or peel color of the apples compared to cold storage. So in the figure, it shows lower values mean a greener peel color than, yeah, with the higher values. And yeah, again, generally CA conditions maintains a better or greener peel coloration, which is, yeah, just shows fresh or just shows a fresh appearance of the fruit. 1 MCP has less of an effect on the peel coloration in cold storage and also not in CA. And also what we saw, increasing the temperature to 3 degrees Celsius can in some instances accelerate the changes in peel coloration. So in that regard, lower temperatures are to be yeah, preferred just based on these results. And overall, what we can see is that under CA conditions with higher CO2 levels of 2.5%, the tonic apple variety shows a very high quality conservation, a very promising storage potential, possibly even for longer storage durations that, yeah, remains to be confirmed then, of course, in further studies. So, of course, a big component of our fruit analysis is also the visual evaluation of the fruit material, meaning we're looking for any possible susceptibilities of the tonic variety to the conditions we establish in the room, meaning is there a sensitivity to chilling injuries or to low oxygen stress or fermentation or to higher CO2 levels? And yeah, what we found so far, this is of course only the results of 1 year, but there were none of the CA treatments, any disorders symptoms to be found related to low oxygen stress. So we didn't find any internal browning symptoms or cavities, and also higher CO2 levels of up to 2.5% didn't induce any possible skin necrosis. For chilling injuries, same thing. Even at the lower temperatures of 1 degree Celsius, we didn't find any damages, yeah, caused by low temperature. Higher temperatures, on the other hand, appeared to increase shrivel symptoms a little bit, but still in CA storage, the percentage was very low. So this is, must be confirmed in further studies, of course. One MCP appeared to reduce some disorders, symptoms, also shriveling, for example, but again, we had so low percentages that this is something that needs to be seen in further studies. Overall, we can say that there were not any, or we couldn't identify in this experiment any susceptibilities to any of the storage conditions, so that suggests a high flexibility or high storability for the tonic variety. The only thing that we noticed in our food material specifically is high prominence of staph symptoms, but that was found across all treatments, and that just shows that was unrelated to the storage conditions, and of course is rather related to pre-harvest factors. And we know from the farmer, from the grower where we received our fruit material from, is that there was sort of a reduced fungicide application strategy. So it is unlikely, or it's not confirmed in any way that tonic has a susceptibility to this pathogen. And this is also, it is unlikely that this is related to the storage conditions itself. Just from, of course, based on the analysis of the quality parameters that I described earlier, and our disorder evaluation, we can see from our experiment a very high or very promising storage potential for even longer times. Of course, again, this is only 1 year and needs to be confirmed, but the first results are promising.
Thank you very much, Felix Buchele, for sharing these results on the storage trial with tonic. So what should you remember from this presentation? That tonic is an attractive bicolored apple with good fruit size, that it has high levels of sugar and acidity, with trees that are productive and easy to grow, and most of all, an excellent storage potential. Or another way to say it, tonic is an apple with a tonic taste all year round.
Vale, vamos a hacer las preguntas. Veo que ya habéis encontrado que es en el apartado PIR, no es en el apartado chat, ¿vale? Es un icono que tenéis un pequeño interrogantillo. Vamos a empezar. Primero de todo, antes de leer la primera pregunta, se tiene que tener en cuenta que la adaptación de tonic estamos en un sitio un poco límite, porque para el color se necesita condiciones no demasiado calientes. ¿Vale? Empezamos con la primera pregunta de César. Dice, en nuestras condiciones, la variedad Gala es la más sensible a moteado. Al no ser tonic resistente al moteado, ¿a qué variedad se parecería más en sensibilidad al moteado? Esta es una pregunta para Valérie. Dans notre condition, Valérie, la variété Gala c'est la... Pardon?
J'ai compris.
D'accord, d'accord.
Mais je vais te répondre en français, du coup.
D'accord.
La variété, elle n'a pas RVI6, mais elle a une bonne...
Est-ce que tu peux répéter, s'il vous plaît?
La variété n'a pas le gène de résistance RVI6.
Oui, oui.
Mais elle a une bonne tolérance à la tablure. Et ce qu'on peut dire pour des variétés que tout le monde connaît, c'est que c'est plus résistant que Gala et Golden. Maintenant, je ne peux pas répondre pour une variété cultivée en Espagne. Je n'ai pas de modèle à vous dire.
Vale. Para hacerte la traducción, César dice que tonic no tiene el gen de RBI6, pero sí que es verdad que es resistente a moteado, y dice que es más resistente que una Gala y una Golden, pero no te puede responder más. Espero que te haya servido. Más preguntas. Más preguntas. Si no, yo tengo una pregunta también para Valérie. Te la hago en español, que la has comprendido bien. ¿Por qué esta variedad no está desarrollada en formato club?
On a choisi de pas faire un club avec tonic parce que on trouvait que c'était une variété de fin de saison et avec des bonnes qualités gustatives et qu'elle se prêtait bien au format libre, qui avait un manque à ce moment-là.
Vale, para traducir lo que ha dicho nuestra compañera Valerie, dice que no se ha planteado así desde un principio, también porque viene al final de temporada, tiene buenas calidades gustativas, en fin, no se ha planteado de esta forma.
Et l'autre raison, Jordi, c'est
Oui.
qu'elle a une bonne conservation et que ça pouvait aussi intéresser les producteurs qui voulaient faire de la vente directe.
Vale, al tener una buena conservación, también, bueno, habéis comprendido, ¿no? Interesa para la venta directa a pequeños productores, etc.
Okay, Jordi, I think we need to move to our last topic.
Okay.
And again, if there are more questions, they can always come back to you and to the Dalival team at any time.
Perfecto, vamos a avanzar. Cualquier cosa podéis escribir en el chat o directamente a mí.
What you need to remember about Tonik is that it is a grower-friendly apple with a very rich taste and also a great storage ability.
Ok, como dice Manuel, Tonik es una manzana muy bien adaptada para el cultivo. Es importante recordar que bueno, tiene un sabor muy complejo y un potencial de conservación muy prolongado.
And to finish with our webinar today, let's now talk about the M200 rootstock.
Vamos a hablar del famoso M200 para terminar la sesión webinar de hoy.
Hello everyone, I'm Clément Compagnon. I'm working at IFO as apple breeder, and a part of my job is working on rootstock evaluation for IFO Dalival.
Hello everybody, my name is Frédéric Michaud. I'm in charge of subsidiaries and nurseries for Dalival Group, and in parallel, I'm in charge of Italian and Central Asia markets. I'm going to share a presentation of M200. I'm going first to speak about Dalival rootstock strategy. Dalival is involved in 3 main programs in the world: Geneva in US, Ismailing in UK, and PFR in New Zealand. Dalival targets is not to launch rootstocks by any means, but to find technical solutions to various problems and to provide answers to fruit growers' expectations, such as increasing productivity, proposing different types of vigors, adapting rootstock to different soils, but also to different varieties, and of course, finding rootstocks with disease resistances. In conclusion, our main target is to select the best selections for each range of vigor. Just to give you some key figures, rootstock takes 15 to 20 years. Then testing it within different conditions takes another 15 to 30 years. So in total, 30 to 50 years until the commercial development. Today, Dalival has around 55 to 30 years experience with M200. Now we are going to watch a presentation of M200 from Feli Fernandez from Ismailing Research Station.
So I'm Feli Fernandez. Welcome to Ismailing Research Station, part of the NIAB group. I am one of the senior breeders here at Ismailing, and I'm responsible for rootstock breeding. So M200 is derived from a cross carried at Ismailing in 1971. In the 1990s, it had moved to international trials and has been evaluated in France, Italy, as well as Germany. Now we have got quite a lot of data comparing M200 with M9. It has got better disease resistance, so it's not fully resistant, but it has some tolerance to phytophthora, so crown rot. European canker, it shows much better performance than M9. And also it has got some fire blight tolerance. Again, not a full resistance, but much improved from M9. In terms of productivity, it's also more productive, and it has, with a comparable range of fruit size. It has got a very seamless graph union, so it produces a very stable tree in the orchard. Also, it does reasonably well on replant conditions, so it's an option for that kind of orchard as well.
I will give you a quick summary about M200 tolerances. So we can see that M200 has a lot of improvement regarding disease resistance compared to M9, especially for fire blight resistance. It doesn't produce so much sucker and burnout, which is very interesting because of weed control. It's well adapted in replant situation. And if we compare disease resistance level between M200 and G11, we can see that both rootstock are almost the same level of resistance. So now I will present you some rootstock trial results from 4 different research stations over Europe. So the first rootstock trial is a golden rinders planted in 2012 at IFO Dalival. The second one is planted at Langbourg, South Tyrol in Italy with Galabucai in 2014. The third one is planted at CTFL La Morinière with Dalinet in 2015. And the last one is planted at Heidegg, Austria, with Dalival in 2017. So we will talk first about vigor. So in the chart, vigor is measured with a trunk circumference 20 centimeters above the graft union. This measurement allows us to sort rootstock by their ability to grow. So we can see that in both rootstock trials, so the first one, which is golden rinders at IFO, and the second one, Gala at Langbourg, we can see that M200 is much more vigorous than M9 Pajam 2 in this location, with about 40% more vigorous than M9. And at Langbourg, we can see that M200 is about 40% more vigorous than M9 337. And then if we compare G11 between M9 and M200, we can see that G11 is a medium vigor. So in the next 2 trials, which are Dalinet, La Morinière, and Dalival in Heidegg, we can see that M200 is also 20% more vigorous than M9. M200 is generally more vigorous than G11 for about 5 to 10%. But in some cases, depending on the soil and weather condition, but also depending on the variety, the difference of vigor between G11 and M200 can be more or less the same. What you need to remember is that on average, M200 is about 20 to 25% more vigorous than M9 Pajam 2. So now let's talk about cumulative production. In the following chart, we will talk about kilogram per tree. So in this trial, golden rinders at IFO and Gala at Langbourg, we can see that M200 has a much higher production than M9 for about 50 to 60%. And also that M200 is more productive than G11 for about 30%. In the 2 other trials, which are Dalinet, La Morinière, and Dalival Heidegg, we can see that M200 has a higher production than M9. But depending on the situation and the variety, these increases can be more or less important. The important thing to remember is that in most cases, M200 has a much higher production per tree than M9 type. And depending on the situation, M200 is often better than G11, and sometimes it's very close to it. And now I'm presenting you the percentages of fruit with a range size over 70 millimeters. So in this result, I present you 3 different rootstock trials, which are Golden Riders at IFO, Buckeye at Langbourg, and Dalival at La Morigna. In this result, we can see that the proportion of fruit with a size over 70 millimeters is very close between M9, G11, and M200. Just a few percentage difference in either direction. So it's important to remember that even if the productivity of M200 is much higher than M9, you keep the full range of fruit size compared to M9. So now I'm giving the floor to Frédéric.
Here, we did some economic calculation using our rootstock trial results. In this test, there are 3 replications of randomized trees per rootstock. The planting density is the same. These calculations take in consideration prices for each caliber. The chart represents the cumulative turnover in percentage after 10 years of production, based on M9 Pajam 2, which is the reference with 100%. In conclusion, with M200, you earn 3 extra years of turnover compared to M9 Pajam 2 after 10 years, representing a 57% increase of income. Here, we have done the same work with Galabrook field. This chart represents the cumulative turnover in percentage after 7 years of production based on M9 Pajam 2, which is a reference with 100%. In conclusion, with M200, you earn 2 to 3 years extra years of turnover compared to M9 Pajam 2, representing 100% increase of income, which is really impressive. To summarize, M200 is 30% more productive than M9, produce the same range of food size as M9, and it's 20 to 30% more vigorous than M9 337. We would recommend to use M200 in the following conditions. For varieties with a weak or medium vigor, in areas affected by fire blight, for B-axis or multi-axis growing systems where vigor is necessary, in replanted soil situation with soil fatigue, but also for organic cultivation where nitrogen supply is limited. Also, M200 produces less suckers, which is an advantage when you cannot use chemical weed control. In conclusion, M200 brings to fruit growers a lot of advantages and increase the orchard performance. Thanks for your attention.
Vale, vamos a reservar el momento de preguntas. Si hay alguna pregunta. Si no, me voy a dirigir a Clement, ¿de acuerdo? Voy a hacer una pregunta aquí en Gerona, más que en otras partes, ya sabéis, tenemos replantaciones de terceras y cuartas generaciones. Entonces necesitamos un plus de vigor con respecto al G11, ¿no? Mi pregunta es la siguiente, Clement. ¿Cuándo debo plantar G11 y cuándo debo plantar M200? ¿En qué momento?
Okay, can I answer in English, Jordi?
Yes, no problem. If you want, the question is when should I use G11 and when should I use M200?
Yeah, so we would advise to use M200 when you plan to grow very weak variety, or if your soil is has a very high level of soil fatigue, and also where in some situation where G11 is not vigorous enough. And in fact, we will compare in a replant situation G11 close to M9, and we consider than M200 is more vigorous than G11, so you can use it in these conditions.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got another question. Tengo una otra pregunta interna que me ha escrito Joan María Pareta por WhatsApp. Me dice, me pide si es más o menos sensible als talps, a los ratones. He's asking me if it's more or less sensible to rats. If it's more or less sensible than Geneva or M9.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Campagnol, yes.
Okay. We don't have any figures now. We try to investigate it in France in a very new program, but I don't have any point on that. It's too early.
Okay, sorry, because somebody is remembering me that I didn't translate what you were saying because I was reading another question. If you can repeat the first answer, just really summary about when you use G11 and when you use M200, please. I will do a fast translation.
Yeah, so yes, we consider that G11 is less vigorous than M200. So we advise to use M200 in situation with very low vigor with variety with a very low vigor, or with a soil with a high level of soil fatigue. And okay. Yes, yeah, you can answer that.
Yes. Bueno, va muy ligado a la variedad, ¿no? Afinidad portainjerto es variedad, entonces si la variedad es muy débil, entonces será un momento para utilizar el M200, o bien si el terreno pues es realmente una replantación o es un terreno muy, muy débil. Vale, entonces, we continue. If you want, there is no more questions. Vamos a continuar, no hay más preguntas.
Okay, so it is now time to conclude, Jordi, and I hope that we have understood that because of its productivity, its tree development and its tolerances, M200 will give to the growers better performances in conditions where M9 is struggling.
Ok, tal y como ha dicho, debido a su productividad, su desarrollo y tolerancias, M200, para concluir, dará un mejor resultado a la finca en condiciones en las que el M9 pues, podría tener dificultades, ¿no?
And to finish, the last few words from Fiona Davidson.
Vale,
Gracias,
para terminar,
Emmanuel.
últimas palabras de Fiona Davidson.
Gracias, Emmanuel. We hope that you enjoyed this webinar.
Bueno, esperemos que hayan disfrutado de este seminario web.
This was a new exercise for us, so please excuse us for all the imperfections.
Bueno, como es la primera vez, pedimos disculpas si ha habido algunas imperfecciones.
This webinar will be followed by field days in Spain at Harvest 2024.
Vale, bueno, nos proponemos de venir a ver nuestros resultados en el campo de ensayo privado que tenemos en Dalival en Tor, ¿vale? En la cosecha del 24, en septiembre-octubre, así podéis ver cómo se comportan en nuestras condiciones climáticas, que al final es lo interesante.
You are also very welcome to visit us in France. Feel free to ask Jordi to organize a visit or to ask all of your questions.
Vale, también os invitamos a visitarnos en Francia. No dudéis en preguntarnos para organizar cualquier visita y cualquier duda.
Thank you for attending the meeting. Thank you to the research stations that shared their results.
Gracias por asistir a la reunión, gracias a las estaciones de investigación que compartieron los resultados.
And a very special thank you to Ségolène Dandin at CTIFL, Félix Büchele at KOB, Feli Fernandez at NIAB East Malling, Jordi Pareta, and to all our Dalival team.
Vale, y gracias especiales a Ségolène Dandin de CTIFL, a Félix Büchele de KOB, a Feli Fernández de NIAB East Malling y a todo nuestro equipo en general.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your holiday tomorrow.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos, buenas tardes y que tengáis buen principio de puente, los que lo hagáis, buenas vacaciones. Un saludo.